Well, let's talk about let's toss it back to the '80s for a second. As I mentioned earlier, Robin was Slimer in Ghostbusters 2. Tell us how that came about. How we've talked about the auditioning process. How did you get picked to become part of one of the biggest and best franchises in the world?
I was living in the Bay Area. I was living in Sunnyvale, and I had an agent, and ILM was looking. They had somebody already cast as Slimer. They wrote the character out, then they wrote him back in. So the guy who was cast already had been. Now he's committed to another project, so they needed to recast. And my agent said, "I need you to go down to, to ILM." And I'm like, "What is it for?" "We can't tell you." And we need you to go audition. So I did. And they put me through a few scenarios, and I got
back home. They knew of you from a previous movie, right?
What?
They knew of you from the previous movie.
True. Well, I'd worked on Willow. This is true.
Mm-hmm.
But I worked on Willow a year before. But my audition, when my agent called me, they would not tell me what it was like. Hush, hush, total. Like they would not tell me what it was for. And they put me through a few scenarios, and when I got home, I got it, and then they finally told me what it was for, and I freaked out. Completely freaked out because I was a fan just like everybody else, and I thought, how am I gonna fit myself into these shoes that were already they're big shoes to fill, right?
Right.
But you're right. They had known me from Willow. I'd done a few days of work on that, and they kind of said, "Hey, wait, we lost this guy, but Robin might fit. Why don't you give her a call?" They called my agent, and I went in. But it was all hush hush, and they would not say a word about what it was until I actually got it. But that's how it all came about.
But tell everybody who you were in Willow.
I was a troll. When you see Willow, yeah, I've got a weird resume. I went on the top of the bridge, and then Willow meets this troll, and then I got eaten by a two-headed Hydra monster. And I might have told you this story. I probably have. The night before I was supposed to shoot it, I was running 102 fever and throwing up, like every hour. I had the stomach flu, and my father he saw I was completely sick, took the day off of work and packed me into the back of the car with a blanket and a pillow, drove me to ILM, which was an hour and a half away. And I did the day of work, hanging from a bar 16 feet off the ground and being pulled into a mat. Running 102 fever, growing up. But luckily, by the time I got there, it got better, and I was actually able to be okay. But I'm always telling people, it's like, I could have said no, and I'm sick and I don't want to go. Had I said no, I wouldn't even be talking to you about Ghostbusters at all. I wouldn't have gotten that job, period. So you do a job if you can, do the best job you can, stretch yourself, go do it, even if you're not like feeling great like I did. And you never know, it could lead to something even bigger, which it did for me.
Yeah.
And the conversations were, you remember that girl that was in, we had her on Willow. You remember her? I think she's probably just the right size to get in the Slimer costume, right? Don't tell her, bring her in. Let's just see if she's cool.
Yeah, and
one of the managers, his name. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. Go ahead with your story.
I was just going to say, Ned Gorman, who basically hired me on Willow, is the person who said, "I think I've got the person that you might need," to Tim Lawrence, who's the guy who was doing all the special effects. And that's how I got it, because Ned Gorman said, "This girl from Willow might be what you're looking for." I just got lucky.
Yeah.
Well, showing that you could deal with a situation such as being sick and still being able to come into work and wearing a costume like the troll. I mean, they look at you and say, we're going to have to shove her inside this massive latex Slimer. You're right. She can handle this. And I'm sure you had some instances inside that suit where you were maybe questioning what you were doing, why you were doing it.
Absolutely. There's a time that we were shooting something, and it pretty much was standard that every hour and a half or so we would take off the head. I would get a sip of water. We'd take a break, and we were shooting something, and I didn't want to stop. I'm like, no, let's keep going. I'm okay. We're fine. And then at one point, they looked at me like, so Robin, can you take a step to your left? Robin, Robin, are you there? And I was not responding. I was just like, and they like, take the head off now, do it, take it off. And I was like ready to pass out, but it was me. I pushed myself like too far.
Yeah.
They were trying to get me to break, and I didn't want to, and I should have. But yeah, that was I was close to just dropping at that point. I really was.
Well, tell us about the suit itself. If you're about to pass out in there, that thing's got to weigh something pretty hefty.
There were a lot of motors and servos and metal, and it's not even the heat. It was more the weight that was the hard part of it.
Yeah.
And it was hours and hours. I actually when I'm working, I was dreaming about a lot of the weight would go on my nose too, because the head, there's like a mask that would fit my nose and my cheeks.
Mm-hmm.
And I was having like nightmares of like things pressing on my face and my shoulders. It was pretty intense. It was pretty intense.
You had to wear, what did you have to wear on your nose?
And actually, when I started wearing the thing that was fitted for my face, it was digging into my nose. And it was bleeding. So they had to put like a protective, like they call it moleskin, over my nose to make sure that it wasn't digging into my skin.
Mm-hmm.
They were great though. In all honesty, they were like family watching out for me. They were making sure every minute that I was okay. So I was in good hands for sure.
One thing I love with you, like doing that with, especially with all the Ghostbusters stuff, you know, of course, the original release of the movie, you have the quick scene in the firehouse and then the bus scene, but then, you know, they released the anniversary editions not long ago, and it has that extended scene with Lewis's hunting Slimer in the firehouse. I'm taking you've seen that, right? Okay, good. So I'm glad to see that, you know, if no one hasn't seen that, definitely look that up on I think it was the last physical release of Ghostbusters 2, either 4K and the anniversary.
You can actually go into, if you go to, I think it's YouTube, you can look up William Forge. I think it's all of his, a lot of his.
He took some amazing video.
Yeah. Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there's the moleskin.
and you can see the moleskin on my nose in the middle shot.
That. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I do.
And they did that because it was cutting my nose. Like
she actually got a nose job, but she's just using that as an excuse.
Yeah, whatever. Whatever.
Instead of Biore strips, it was Slimer strips. So yeah.
I was trying to get blackheads out of my nose while I was working. But, you know. But they were like most talented, amazing people. In all honesty, it was like I wasn't really seasoned in I did a lot of theater, but this is like my big, outside of Willow, it was a huge gig for me, and I was working with these people that were so amazing, and it was an education that I never could have ever paid for if I wanted to.
Like a month and a half.
It was pretty. Yeah, I rehearsed I think for 6 weeks, and we shot for 2 or 3. I think we shot for 3. And I was working with Jim Bai, who I'm sure you guys know. Who was working on the other side of the set at Island, doing all kind like Scolari and the Statue of Liberty. He was. We became pretty bonded too, in all
that. Speaking of bonded, you guys to this day, a lot of the cast members are still really good friends. I see you guys hanging out with Ernie and Jennifer Runyon and Mark Brian Wilson and all those guys.
Yeah.
How is it being?
Family. They become family to me. Seriously.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Is how, you know, how is it being part of that Ghostbusters family, and how often do you get to see some of the people?
It's kind of surreal. It's like, you know, I text all those people almost at least once a month to check in and see how they're doing.
We just saw Billy Bryan
and Mark Brian Wilson.
I noticed that recently. Yeah, I saw that.
I texted Jennifer and Ernie like last week. We are a family. We kind of just touch base and make sure we're all okay.
Yeah.
I'm so lucky to be a part of that they include me in on that family. I mean, it's a small list of GB alumni, but I'm so lucky to be part of that.
Yeah.
What are some interesting things that happened on the set while you were filming part 2?
Bill Murray.
There you go.
The end.
What happened, Bill Murray?
Bill Murray.
That's it. That's all I need to know.
I got his Zerbert from
Yeah.
Bill Murray. I did. And I did find out that like the crew that I was working with was keeping an eye on me to make sure that I was good.
You were okay?
They were very protective. They were very protective of me. Yeah. But
Is that just code for keeping Bill away from you?
Can I take the 5th? Can I take the 5th?
Take the 5th.
and come to our Patreon chat.
I had no issues with Bill. He came in. He basically was with Ivan. Ivan wanted to spend the day and talk over each scene and what he wanted. Mm-hmm. And Bill was there to do some looping for the movie, which is recording over dialogue that they've already recorded. Yeah. And Bill just wanted to hang out. And he watched a lot of the day. And he was like so nice to me. And I've always been a big SNL fan. So it was like a kid seeing Bugs Bunny.
Yeah.
I was just like, I was.
I don't think Bill Murray has ever been compared to Bugs Bunny.
It's one of my idols. I mean, he always has been. And to meet him was just like, I was a kid in a candy store. I couldn't believe it. But that was probably the biggest thing that I had happen on the set. It was unexpected. I didn't know he was coming to show up, and to spend the day with him was just beyond amazing. It was very cool.
Let me think. Going back on that time frame, did you ever get to meet Jason during that time frame? Was he there around any? Ivan's son, Jason. Was he? Did you ever get to meet him back in that original time frame?
Jason Reitman, was he on the set?
Jason was not on the set.
The days you were there. Okay, I just wondered. I didn't know. I know he was there at times. Yeah. I was curious.
No, he did Ghostbusters. He was a kid. In Ghostbusters 2, he played the kid.
Yeah, the brownstone boy.
Brownstone boy.
Yeah. He was probably what, 12? Maybe. I'm guessing.
I'm guessing. Yeah, we're guessing here. Yeah.
My dad said you guys are full of crap.
Yeah, you guys are full of crap. I did not meet him. I did meet Ivan, who I felt I was just me as an actor. I was intimidated by Ivan. He was just obviously a director who had done so much, and I was just in awe of him as well. But yeah, no, his son was not on the set at the time.
Okay, I was just curious. I just thought of it. That popped in my head. I was curious.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah. I have met Jason since then, and I went up to him. It was so sweet. At FanFest, I said, "Hi, Jason. I'm Robin." He goes, "I know who you are."
Oh, that's awesome.
I know who you are. I'm like, okay, well, and I was just floored. I'm like, oh, okay, nice to meet you. But it was
that's awesome.
He had known like what I had contributed already to GB. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So let's talk about your relationship with Ernie. You and Ernie are pretty good friends. What? Blake, we got stuff for you. Don't worry. You guys are a team. Come on. But Ernie, Ernie has made his feelings known in the past about Ghostbusters and how he got. I guess the most polite way would be to say he felt kind of slighted in his role, but now with Afterlife and by the way, spoilers if you haven't seen Afterlife, Winston's going to start leading this crew.
Yep.
How knowing him for so long, how is it seeing him finally? It seemed like is he starting to get Winston especially starting to get his due in the Ghostbusters universe?
I gotta be honest, the few feelings that he's expressed about like the original, I feel like it's kind of between us. I wouldn't really share a lot of that.
Yeah.
But I think it's amazing if what I think is happening with the new film. I think he's so earned it. He has so earned it.
Agree.
And
Absolutely.
he's one of the nicest, most talented, underrated actors that I know. But he's always been so giving and very open to talking to me and welcoming me with open arms. He's like one of the nicest human beings.
And it's actually good to see that he's working a lot now. I mean, in all
so
honesty,
he is.
Yeah. He's lead. He's doing. I mean, he's just constantly working now, so it's just kind of nice to see.
But he's just an all around great guy. I'm so grateful that I did my first con with him. I watched how he handled the fans, and bar none, one of the best people I've ever seen. With fans ever. He just is so appreciative, and it showed me what I needed to be to any Ghostbusters fan that approached me ever. He's amazing. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, he's always been really good with the fans. Both of y'all have.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, you're on here with us. I mean,
yeah.
Because I love you. You're my friend.
That's right. Well, let's talk about and yes, Sean, we're getting to you. Don't worry about it.
The relationship between her and Ernie. That's what I was saying.
Hey, Sean, you sure got to talk about the Mandalorian again, okay?
Yeah. We're not going to get to that.
Well, as we alluded to, you were able to take on Miss Slimer in Paul Feig's version of Ghostbusters. Tell us about that process.
Yes. I love telling this story. It was like Christmas 2015. I'm just at the computer and I get a Twitter message.
They call them tweets.
I'm sorry, I got a tweet.
They're called tweets.
It wasn't a public tweet. It was a DM.
Direct message.
It was a DM.
Just, okay, boomer.
I'm with it.
Somebody slid in. Somebody slid into her DMs. All right.
Yeah.
So I got a DM and I looked at it and it was from Paul Feig and he's like, hey, I think I have something in the new film. If you might be interested, let me know. And I screamed at the top of my lungs. And Sean's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? I said, oh my God, look at this. He goes, stop talking to me. Write him back. Tell him yes. And I did.
Don't leave Paul hanging.
The thing is, I'd never spoken with Paul. That is a tribute to like he was reaching out to someone that he had never met. Just because he knew I had a connection with the franchise and wanted to include me. And that speaks volumes of him, I think. It really does.
Yeah. That's the last time I got to see you guys was at least in person was in March of 2016. I was fortunate enough to Sony flew me out to the trailer premiere.
Oh,
that's right. I remember that.
Yeah, I wish I could have made it out to the premiere. Wasn't able to, but at least I got to see the trailer premiere, and that's where I got to meet Ivan and Paul. And yeah, Paul, I was absolutely floored by how genuine and how nice he is.
He is so sweet and
a true fan of Ghostbusters. I mean, in all honesty,
I showed up to do my recording that day, right? And I had another audition that afternoon. What was it for? Anyway, I had a kind of a bigger audition for a TV show that afternoon, and I did my recording, and Paul's like, "Hey, I'm editing. Do you want to watch me edit the movie?"
Wow.
Sure. Holy crap! Yes, I would love to watch it. Oh my God! I said, but I can't. I actually have to leave. It was the Gilmore Girls. I had an audition for the Gilmore Girls that afternoon.
The reboot of it.
The reboot. Yeah. And I the one day that I couldn't stay, I would have killed to stay there with him and watch. And he's like, well, I'd love you to stay if you can. I'm like, I'm so sorry, but thank you. And he gave me a hug, and he was just so sweet. But again, like he was so inviting, and And I remember I walked into where he was editing. He goes, "Hey, you guys, it's Ghostbusters royalty. Check it out. It's Robin." And he made me feel so so loved. He made me feel so loved, and he's such an amazing human being. He really is.
And
I love him.
Is it Zach? At the beginning of the movie, was in looping when you were there, wasn't
right.
it? So
The opening of the film where he's
he was looping his stuff there.
He was there just recording just before me for Lady Slimer. And yeah, it was pretty cool. I saw some, and of course I had to sign this huge NDA of everything that I saw. You don't talk about it, which I happily signed.
You took a picture too. I wasn't there, but she took a picture with Paul.
I took a picture with him.
Like, we can't post that anywhere right now. You can't do anything with this. You know, and so we had to wait until they're like.
And I had to wait till
Right.
And I remember on the green carpet, I actually messaged Paul saying, "Can I now say what I'm doing? Is that okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, go for it." And that's where I told people, some of the fans in the bleachers,
that's right. I remember.
I had mentioned what I was doing because I was actually allowed to. But
I think I caught during the premiere. You had you spoke with someone, and it was I think a live broadcast on YouTube or whatever was going on. I just remember watching a live video. So I remember you saying that this is what I'm doing in the movie. Lady Slimer.
And I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't crossing the line in interviews.
You didn't want to get sued.
I wanted to make sure that what I was saying publicly was
right.
okay. And I got the okay from Paul. I remember there was a commercial that was released though, that Paul was not happy with, that showed Lady Slimer
for a split second.
And that was under wraps. He was not happy.
It was the Ghost of Ghostbusters.
He was not happy that they had actually aired that.
At the very end, they showed Lady Slimer. And, once it's on the internet, people just grab every screen and they saw it and they're like, "Oh, look who's in it." And he was really upset.
And that aired long before he ever wanted it to. It was supposed to air 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later. And he was not thrilled. But
that's why the whole picture thing was the way it was, because he's like, if you post this, there are fans out there, the same fans that do frame by frames would pick out this one little bitty element in the corner, and then they would determine an entire portion of the story based off of that one little thing.
Exactly. And I just, I'm so grateful that he actually reached out. I'm forever grateful that I'm part of not one but two of the films in the franchise. I'm still amazed that he even did that.
I always say she's the only person who can say she dated her own character. She dated her own self.
Right?
Hey.
I played my own love interest, which is I need therapy for that.
You did the multiverse thing before it was cool. I got you.
Right. And speaking of, I was really hoping that you would have been a part of Ghostbusters Afterlife, because Lady Slimer and Slimer, they take the Ecto-1 straight into the portal at the end of Ghostbusters 2016, or Answer the Call. At the end of Answer the Call, they go into the portal, and then all the promotional posters and stuff for Afterlife, you see the big green swirl coming out of the sky, and I'm like, that's it, multiverse. Here comes Robin right down into Afterlife. I was like, there's the portal right there.
And going that far, Brock, Robin, they're still making movies.
Yeah,
they are.
You never know.
They are. And, it's like, I'm just, even if I look at it this way, how many people can say they've been a part of 2 of the films? So even if I don't get to be in another one, I can't be greedy. I'm still super grateful that I've been able to be involved as much as I have. I can't complain.
Yeah.
I'm super happy. Yeah. Of course, I hope to be involved in the future, but if it doesn't happen, I'm like the luckiest person ever. So I'm okay with it either way.
Well, we're very fortunate that you are part of that, and that we are such Ghostbusters fans, because the fandom turned us all into really good friends.
Yes.
You're not fans, you're friends. You know that. You're your family, you're friends. It is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey guys, huh? I'm friends with Slimer.
Yes, you are. Hello. Yes, you are.
It's on my resume.
I hope it gets you a job there, Kevin.
Kevin Gardner, friend of Slimer.
That's right.
Well, some people, when they come off the sets of movies, they tend to keep little artifacts here and there. Were you able to keep anything from Ghostbusters?
Yes, I have Slimer's tongue.
Mm-hmm.
It's true, but it sounds kind of gross, doesn't it? But it's actually latex and it's falling apart, and I need to make sure it doesn't get lost forever. It should be in like the Smithsonian or something. Seriously,
We talked about taking it back up to ILM, and maybe they have a way to maybe restore it or something. We've taken some prop shops around here, and it just I feel like because when they find out what it is, their fear is that they're going to ruin it. But I mean, it is pretty. It's pretty
gonna get lost
right now.
though soon anyway.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
And I've got a maquette that is signed by Michael Gross on the butt.
Oh, nice.
I could go it. I think I've shown it to you before, but it's one of the maquettes they made. I think 14 of them at ILM, and it was to show not just like what he looked like, but like different colors, so Ivan could choose which one he thought was the one that he thought was the best. And they gave me one at the end of shooting, saying, "Here you go." And they gave me one of the arms with the nails and everything. That fell apart completely.
Yeah.
But the Slimer maquette has made it through 2 major earthquakes. So
and it's still intact.
And he's still intact, and he's still going strong. So I'm lucky. Not many people have that. It's like my prized possession. I love it. I absolutely
talked about trying to get the maquette to. It's weird because I don't want to take it on a plane or take it anywhere to. But we're trying to get more people to sign it to where
Oh yeah, I have Mark Siegel, who's one of the puppeteers, signed it. Michael Gross. I still have to have Ernie, and I have a lot of people, but I'm just afraid to travel with it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It is breakable, and the arms are so fragile that that I'm afraid that it would just be ruined. I'm kind of really careful with it.
Yeah, and just really quickly for those of you not familiar with Michael Gross, he's responsible for the No Ghost logo. He created one of the most iconic brand logos in the world.
Yeah, he sure did. Sure did.
And one of the most amazingly eccentric, wonderful storytellers that I've ever known. Like to sit with him, we would
go down to, I think it was Carlsbad, right?
Yeah.
We would go down to Carlsbad and visit him. And I got to tell you, you just say, "So, Michael, how's it going?" And I swear he would go on for like 2 hours with his best, most intriguing, intricate stories. I'd just be like,
he's a man of Hollywood that could tell stories for hours.
So great. Just the stories he had. And when he passed, it was like it was just.
And the funny part was, like, we would go and visit, right? And as we were leaving, he wouldn't look me in the face. It's like he was sad that we were leaving.
Oh.
He would just kind of like, look down and not wave. And so it's like.
No.
He started getting into photography. We got a photo of his framed in our bedroom. But he started getting into. He was going to move to Yucca Valley or in the valley, and because he was tired of the ocean by that point. But what a great guy. I mean, honestly, talk about old Hollywood stories. This guy had them all. It was amazing.
And he was just so. I remember at one point we were on the set, and he had a watch, a Ghostbusters watch, and I said, "That is so cool." He goes, "You want one?" Wow. And it was a Ghostbusters 2 watch that was like he had made for some of the crew, and he gave me a male and a female Ghostbusters 2 watch. I still have the female watch, and I gave him back the male watch because I said, "You gave this to me." He goes, "Well, I don't even have one." I said, "Wait a minute, I'm giving this back to you because if you don't have this," he's like, "No." I said, "This belongs. I'm giving this to you." He's. You see how many friendships I've made and amazing people I've met this whole journey. It's incredible.